Hi, my name is Laura Silver. I'm a registered dietitian with Sodexo here at University Hospitals. Welcome to today's cooking class, all about pantry staples. Today's recipes are budget-friendly and family-friendly. We're also looking for common, easy-to-find ingredients that you can find at your local supermarket. Today, everything comes straight from Dave's. We're taping actually inside the teaching kitchen that's located at the store in the Midtown neighborhood of Cleveland at Chester and East 61st. We're also looking for recipes that are good and good for you. That's really how you stretch your food budget, especially these days. You want to find recipes that are nutritious for your family and that also you're going to genuinely enjoy. Lastly, we'll also bring you safety tips along the way. We want to prevent foodborne illness for you and your family. We want to help you avoid some of the common injuries that happen in the kitchen. But also in a lot of ways, these can make you a more efficient cook and can help you enjoy more of the time that you're spending in the kitchen. Safe knife skills are a good example of that. So today is all about how do you cook from your pantry? How do you make the most of pantry staples and put meals together that are balanced and that are also tasty and that taste fresh? Well, Chef Tony's going to do that for you today with a delicious enchilada dish that's got a really sweet and simple corn salsa on top. Now this enchilada dish is great because it makes use of a lot of pantry staples that a lot of us have around and are easy to find. So things like canned beans, corn tortillas, which actually can last you well over a month as long as you're keeping them refrigerated. You can even use canned chicken in this recipe, which is something that's becoming a little more common right now these days. We're going to demonstrate the recipe with fresh chicken, but you could always substitute canned chicken that you've shredded and put that in the dish as well. There's also a lot of flexibility in this dish in terms of the ingredients that you choose. So if you don't prefer black beans, but you have a different kind of bean, you can always substitute that. If you happen to have something like fresh onions and garlic around or other vegetables, you could add those sauteed veggies into this dish. But it also works really well even if you do not have any of those fresh ingredients lying around. The corn salsa that goes on this dish I really love because it not only adds some fresh flavors to the rest of the dish, but remember, anytime you're adding something like the sweet bell peppers, you're adding a really good source of vitamin C. The more you think about adding some fresh foods like the bell peppers, and we're talking about the marinated, jarred bell peppers, so you don't even have to get them fresh from the store to make use of them in this dish. Anytime you're using those bell peppers, you're getting a good source of vitamin C. And that's something that helps your body to take up and make use of the iron in the rest of the dish. So the iron that's naturally found in beans, in chicken, even a little bit in the corn tortillas, that vitamin C in the salsa is going to help your body to pick up and make more of that nutrient. So this is a good combination. Are you ready? Let's get started.
Hi, my name is Anthony Verona. I'm the Culinary Director for University Hospital Health System with Sodexo, and I want to welcome you to our little show today. And thanks to Laura for doing the introduction on the nutritional aspect of it. But today we're going to make some kid-friendly enchiladas as well as a corn salsa to go with it. So very easy, very kid-friendly, and a delicious dish. So first thing I want to do is wash my hands. You know, in these unprecedented times, washing your hands is obviously important, not only now, but always when you're dealing with food. So how I like to wash my hands and how everybody tells you to do it is 20 seconds or sing happy birthday, rinse them with hot water, scrub them around, get them clean. It's especially important today because we're dealing with, we dealt with raw chicken. So once I cooked our chicken, which I did ahead of time, I cleaned everything up. I sanitized it with the appropriate sanitizer, cleaned the cutting boards, cleaned underneath, cleaned the countertops. So now we're ready to handle what we call ready-to-eat foods. And ready-to-eat foods are something that you're going to plan on sticking in your mouth without cooking it again. So let's talk about the ingredients that I have on the table here. So, you know, a lot of this stuff is what we're calling pantry ingredients, so straight out of the pantry. I know it looks like I chopped that corn right off the cob and, you know, I cooked those black beans, but I didn't. That corn comes straight out of a can, low sodium corn out of a can. The beans come out of a can. The sauce I prepared over here is tomato puree, which comes out of a can. And I also going to make our salsa here in a little bit, which we're going to utilize canned roasted red peppers as well as some the exact same canned corn. Now, obviously the raw chicken didn't come out of my pantry. Today I used fresh chicken, but you can surely use that canned chicken that you get right next to the tuna. Purely very acceptable to use, and you're almost going to get the same results. I would just follow the recipe with the canned canned chicken. I seasoned this with a little bit of cumin and a little bit of chili powder, and I browned it in a pan, then put it in the oven and got it nice and tender. But you could do the same thing with the canned chicken, season it with that. Just don't put it in the oven because it's already cooked. Here's the sauce. This is tomato puree, a little bit of garlic and a little bit of onions, and I seasoned it with some chili powder and some cumin. So what we're going to do is we're going to make some enchiladas. So here's a baking dish. So I know the recipe calls for spraying the pan with pan spray. I don't think it's necessary, really. I mean, you can understand recipes are suggestions. So, you know, if you didn't want corn or black beans, you could definitely use a pinto bean if you wanted to. So just, you know, use a recipe as your own guide, kind of, to make what you want. You know, tomato sauce, I would definitely use the tomato sauce, but there's a lot of different things you could do with this. You know, this could be ground beef or pork, or it could even be salmon, some sort of fish. So what I'm going to do is set this aside. Now again, the recipe called for sour cream in the tomato sauce. Well, today we're going to use Greek yogurt. We had some Greek yogurt in the pantry or in the refrigerator, so we're going to use that up. So we're going to mix this in, and it's going to give it kind of a creamy consistency. And these are all pre-measured. So I'm just going to whisk this in. So what you have now is kind of a, you know, untraditional enchilada. If you've ever made enchiladas before, you typically don't add the sour cream or the cream base or the Greek yogurt right to the sauce, but in this case, we are doing that. So, but I think it's a great idea. So now you got this creamy kind of sauce. So originally what I was talking about is adding the pan spray to the dish. Just like if you're making lasagna, you don't really need to add that extra oil. What I'm going to do is add a little bit of sauce to the bottom, and I'm going to spray this around, and that's really going to help with our kind of what the pan spray was going to do, a non-stick. Okay. Next, I'm going to add my beans as well as my corn to my chicken, and I'm going to mix this in. I have gloved hands on, so your hands are a great tool in the kitchen. Not an issue. Plus, this is going to go in the oven. So I mix that thoroughly. Now here we go. I have some tortillas here that I placed in the microwave real quick, just to soften them up. This is a corn tortilla. So I'm going to add a little bit of each. And I'm going to do this real quick right in front of you. So I'm going to add a little bit of the chicken and the corn mixture. You don't want to overstuff it, but you want a reasonable amount, tablespoon and a half. Now the recipe talks about using a toothpick for that. I don't think it needs a toothpick. I don't think we want to add a toothpick to our dish where we're going to place in the oven. So I'm going to make probably about 8 of these real quick. Just folding these over. They don't have to be perfect. You're going to have a little bit that falls out, but that's okay. You know, another trick that we use in the restaurant business is that we do more than one. So let's add a bunch here. If we just did one at a time, we'd never get anybody fed. So we're going to do maybe 4 here. A little bit at a time. Remember, I seasoned this chicken with a little bit of cumin, a little bit of salt and pepper, some black pepper, and a little bit of chili powder, just to give it that Mexican-y, Latin flair. I'm trying to get these tight, but not too tight. Now, the key to corn tortillas is that they can have a tendency to dry out. And I've seen recipes where they actually dip the corn tortilla into this sauce right here. We're not going to do that this time just because, this is a kid-friendly thing, and that's kind of messy, even though kids may like that. But we're going to kind of drench this with a good amount of sauce. Let's do one more. And then we're going to throw this in the oven and bake it. Okay, so we're going to place one right here. So adding that sauce to the bottom of the pan is really going to help us with where it doesn't stick. So now if I just put this in the oven right now, these tortillas are going to get really dry. So I really want to coat these well and make sure I get them well coated. Now I don't want to just drench it, so I'm going to use my hands, just make sure everything is covered. Okay. And I'm going to clean the edges here. Now one other thing I'm going to do is add a little bit extra chicken to the top of this. We're not adding cheese to this dish. So we want a little bit of extra richness, so I'm going to add a little bit more sauce. A little bit more sauce. I'm going to shake this around, get it all even. And the one thing I like to do is clean off these edges, because once it bakes, that's gonna burn on there, and then you're gonna have we eat with our eyes, so when we present this at the table, we want it to look nice. All right. Shake it just a little bit more. I see a spot where the tortilla is not covered. All right, now we're gonna put this into about a 400-degree oven. Everything's cooked, so we really just need to heat it through, get it a little bubbly. We'll wipe up a little bit here, and then we're going to make this salsa. So again, this is kind of a pantry type of dish. If you have this in your pantry, you should be able to do this type of dish. Again, if you have black beans, if you have pinto beans, kidney beans, whatever you have would work. Even if you don't have this corn, you could chop up some tomatoes and add the same ingredients and make like a little pico de gallo. So again, canned corn, canned roasted red peppers, dried parsley to give it a little color, a little bit of oil, and I have a little bit of my cumin and a little bit of chili powder, which I'm going to mix here. Grab my spoon. And again, you could add black beans to this. I'm going to add a little bit of salt. And I'm going to add a little bit of pepper. You could add black beans to this and have a black bean corn salsa. The last thing I'm going to do is take a little spoon. That's pretty good. If you have a lime laying around, squeeze a little lime in there. Not a big deal. Acid's always good to have in there. Oh, look, I have a lemon. So I'm going to add a little bit of lemon in there just to give it a little bit of tartness. See, cooking is all about utilizing what's in your refrigerator. If the recipe calls for mushrooms and you go to the grocery store and the mushrooms look yucky, why would you use mushrooms? So be creative. Look around when you use a recipe. Don't always have to use the exact same thing. Greens, for example, kale, spinach, basil, you can use a bunch of different things. So we're going to give it a minute, bring this out of the oven, then we're going to plate it up and show you what it looks like. So here's the finished dish. As you can see, it came out really nice. It's not dried out. Now we're going to add the corn salsa to it. And one thing I want to mention is that the roasted red peppers that you buy in the store, you can buy them in a jar, you can buy them in a can. You can look for roasted red pepper. You can look for something that says pimento, but you can also make them yourself. It's pretty easy. Really, it's kind of intimidating at first, but it's really easy. You take a red pepper, you clean it really well, you dry it, and you put it right on this flame right here. See that flame? Literally, you put it right on top of that flame. And you watch it, and you let the skin get black and blistery. You turn it around till everything's black and blistery. You don't want to cook it on there forever. That's why you really want a high flame. You just want to blister that skin. You turn it off, you take the pepper out, you put it in a bowl and cover it with some plastic wrap. Let it sit for about 10 minutes, unwrap it, and that skin comes right off. So real easy to make. You rip off that skin and then you just dice it up like you would any other red pepper. So if you have a red pepper in your house, you can do it that way. Or if you're at the grocery store and you want to buy it, that's surely fine as well. Lastly, I want to talk about the dried parsley. Really not a lot of flavor in dried parsley, more just for the color. But I know that some people may say, hey, what about dried cilantro? Well, dried cilantro, it does have flavor and it tastes really bad. So I would just go with the dried parsley. So here we go. Here's our final dish. Nice portion right there. You can see the chicken's on top. I'm going to take that salsa and I'm just going to give it a little bit of pizzazz, put it on top, and you can see what a pop. Look at that color. It's beautiful color. And there you go. Kid-friendly enchiladas with the corn salsa. So let's try it. I'm no TV personality, but you know, they always try them at the end. So let's try this with that corn salsa. You know, I'm a cheese kind of guy, but this looks like it doesn't really need it. That roasted red pepper really makes a pop. Try another one that's so good. I hope you try this at home. It's really good. Thanks for watching.
What's great about this enchilada dish is how many pantry staples you really get to make the most of. One of the questions I get a lot when it comes to pantry staples, a lot of people think of pantry staples, they think of canned food first and canned goods. And one of the most common questions I get is, well, are they really healthy? Do they really count? If I'm trying to eat more fruits and vegetables, or if I'm trying to feed my family more fruits and vegetables, do canned fruits and vegetables really count toward that? The short answer is yes, they absolutely are healthy and they absolutely can help you toward that. And the long answer is you do want to make sure to check the front label of that can and look back at the ingredients. You want to see how much they're adding or how much they're taking away from that can. With the commercial canning process these days, you actually can get away with adding very little salt, very little sugar to preserve something. So that's what your goal is. Remember that you can save yourself about 40% of the sodium when you rinse. So when you drain and rinse something like beans or vegetables from the can. And when you're shopping for canned food, you do want to look for labels that say low sodium, no sodium, or no salt added, or reduced sodium. Or in terms of fruit, you want to look for things that say 100% juice, or unsweetened, or low sugar. Those are the code words you want to look for when you're shopping for canned food. Another benefit to canned foods and making use of these pantry staples in your kitchen is that a lot of times you can actually reduce the food waste and therefore save money in your food budget the more you use these foods. In a lot of cases, the amount of food that the average family in America wastes or throws away ends up to be the fresh food. Now, we talk about in other cooking classes how to make the most of that fresh food when you have it around. But think about the canned foods as it's really a strategy to use the smaller amount of something, using more closer to exactly what you need in order to make it work in a recipe. So I hope you try this dish at home and enjoy it. Please let us know how it goes. Don't forget to check out the recipes that are available to download with this video, and we'll see you next time.